we've collected for the fitness industry, I'm proud to say, $8 million in trials and challenges. So, we employ almost 100 people. 90% are overseas, in the Philippines. Those are all of our sales reps. You need someone that's got industry specific knowledge. So for you, the listeners that are going to heard a lot of coaching, you need someone that's got deep knowledge in that. Like, that's really hard to train up from cold. Like, they know nothing about the industry. They know nothing of the offer. What tends to work well is it's a student who got amazing results, and that conviction will come out on that sales call. They're like, this program changed my life. Here's why. You need this coach. They're going to change your life. And they're almost like a salesman crossed over with a testimonial. Like, those are great high ticket closers. Or someone who's done high ticket closing and now they're just changing companies. They're like, I closed there. Now I'm going to apply my skill set here.
If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer Podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest. Hey, Digital Trailblazers, it's Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd, and today we have our guest, Dustin Bogle. Dustin, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience. Let them know what you're all about.
Thank you for having me here. And so, I am a fitness coach first, a gym owner second, and then now helping people with digital marketing and putting sales reps into their business. So doing a little bit more of that B2B type of world now. And so eventually, climbing up these staircases of different identities through the years. And then we're going to be stepping into investor here pretty soon. So kind of cool for anybody that's at the beginning stage or far along that, you're also an investor. I've walked in your shoes. So excited to be here and excited to help out and add as much value as I can.
Okay, awesome. So tell us about how you got started. So you were a gym owner to begin this journey. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, even going backwards a little bit, first I was 50 pounds overweight in high school. And so somebody invited me to go to the gym, kind of seeing that I needed a little bit more like mentorship and probably a little bit of like man guy time, because I was just like a lone wolf. I kind of put my hoodie on. I didn't talk to anybody. I was super socially awkward. And it's because I wasn't confident in my body. And then I went and got in shape and started training with them. And over 6 months, lost those 50 pounds. And that was when I decided I want to give people this gift, because I felt the vibrancy it brings you. You're more energetic. You stand taller. You're prouder of yourself. You talk nicer to yourself. You're not saying such nice things when you don't like what you see in the mirror. And it just carried over into all areas of my life. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best drug. Everyone needs to have this. I need to get this into many people's hands. And in an effort to make it as easy as possible, I started my first business where I actually drove to people's homes and I was their trainer in their home. But I saw why that was faulty, because unless you're some sort of rich celebrity, they just see problems and they can't focus. Like, kids are running around, they see a pile of laundry, like they could never get in the zone. That's kind of one of the blessings when you go to the gym. There's nothing to do there except work out. You can't get distracted. There's just equipment and weights and just move some of it. So I quickly pivoted and got a job as a trainer at a gym, and then built up my clientele, eventually went and opened my first boot camp, and then over a period of 6 years opened 6 boot camps in the Southern California area, which is some of the most competitive area for fitness industry. And so one of the things I know we're going to talk about is like marketing campaigns and like, how did I get these gyms to go self-funded and then also help me to fund the next gym? Well, it was a lot of my marketing campaign and what I did to open these things with 200 to sometimes 300 members from day one. And that helped me was I went down the rabbit hole of marketing and sales, where most gym owners go down the rabbit hole just learning more about training and nutrition. And then they stay stuck broke and they kind of stay just stuck in their career. And I realized I needed the other tools. Like, I knew enough to get people results, there's no needing to keep going down this rabbit hole over and over. I need to go over here and I need to learn business. That's how I'm going to grow.
Well, so before we get even to the current phases you're working on now, I'm curious to understand, how did you launch gyms? Because if I'm not mistaken, gym failure rates are pretty high.
Oh yeah. And then not to mention, they got smashed by COVID. IRFs is a big company in our industry, and they projected that 30,000 gyms closed during COVID. And, it just destroyed the industry. And what I kind of like to tell people who have a brick and mortar and they survive through it is like, you're resilient AF, which is awesome, but your competition kind of got watered down. And so that's good for you. You took more market share. And that's what a lot of these gyms did. They started pulling in other clients from other gyms that closed, and that helped them have a more successful business. But what we're kind of seeing as a trend, there is a lot of success still with large group training, but like, I think it also got people to think more like, I'm willing to pay more to have less people in the room. And so what's really taking off in our industry is small group training and PT. Far more people would rather be in a room of 8 or less versus being in the mega 20, 30 person boot camp session. So you're seeing gym owners follow that trend, and they're opening more small group and PT studios, and you're seeing less large group training facilities open. But to go to your question, how did I do it? Well, the first thing I kind of caught on to back then was this crazy thing called Facebook ads, and they were dirt cheap, and I would get leads for $1, and then they used to pay on the page, which was crazy. Like, I would just send them the landing page and they just pay, and then they just show up. Oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And I just dumped every dollar profit we had into that machine to just create a flywheel. And then basically gave me the money. I didn't need to go get a loan. I had my own money to go open location 2. Then I have 2 locations selling challenges. Well, now it's easy to go get 3, but there was failures, and we can dive into that. But, first, to go to your question, we did big 6-week challenge to open up the gym. A lot of gyms, I think they do it wrong. They come into town, they say, we're here, get on our founding membership, get on our charter membership. People have even tried you out, and you're asking for a 12-month commitment. And so they'll try to lure you because the price is low, or you'll never see these prices again. But like, what's the experience like? Do I even like the coaches? Do I like your style of training? So I'm a believer more like, sell a trial, blow their mind, and then everybody's going to become a member on the back end of that. So I would come in and do a 6-week challenge, and I would sell these things for, usually it was like 150 to 200, depending on which area I was in. But that's pretty much the thing is like, I would go in and I would say to myself, okay, most owners are spending more of their money on the equipment and the design and the aesthetics. I'm going to get the basics of what I need. I'm going to get the barbell and a rig. I'm going to get some dumbbells. I'm not going to make it like the prettiest looking place, but it will get people results. What I was more concerned about was like the music, the energy. I was like, I need a speaker in every corner. This place needs to be rocking. Like, we need to put on a show for these people, because they're coming in and they're drained of energy. Like, they're tired. Like, if they're early in the morning, they woke up at the crack of dawn, they're exhausted. Or you get them late at night and they're tired after a day of working and commuting. So either way, you get tired people. I need to shock their senses. I need to wake them the hell up and like ring their ears with loud music. And so I was more concerned about the energy in the room versus like all the fancy equipment. So I'd go to a new area and I'd say, okay, $10,000 to $15,000 is going into the grand opening budget on Facebook ads. And again, this is when I could get leads for $1 to $7 on the high end. I would drop 10 grand. I'd get 1,000 leads, no problem. That's, $10 leads that I'm getting. And, that was on the high end. Sometimes it was even cheaper, and I'd get more, get 2,000, 2,500 leads. Back then, I could get 50% of the people to buy the 6-week challenge. And so, I would close 200, 300, even up to 500 people to buy a 6-week challenge. And so boom, right out of the gate, like, I'm cash flow positive. I never experienced a day of being in the negative. And it was because I learned the skill of marketing. So, the average I would say is 200. Well, that's $40,000 in front end revenue. If I get 200 people in that town to buy a $200 6-week challenge, boom, we brought 40 grand. And then after that, we would at least have half of them become members, but we were closer to 70% on our conversions. And so our membership was right around, $150 a month. So when I got 150 people paying me $150 a month, we're at 22K. In our industry, we call it EFT, electronic funds transfer. That's how many people are on like MRR. They're being auto billed. My business is at 22. Usually that's what I needed to cover rent, payroll, all my expenses. So I'm breaking even, and then I'm cash flow positive from that day forward. So it became a snowball where if I repeated that in 3 cities, it was like I could wait 90 days and I'd have the funds to open gym 4. Like, and it just got easier and easier. And so, but again, I know the people who are listening to this, like we all are having to learn the same skills, sales and marketing. So hopefully that's a little lesson that like how valuable these tools can be in these skills if you learn them, right?
Yeah, I think that's a pitfall that a lot of people fall into is that well, number one, they like whatever they're an expert at, which is good. But I think they fall into the trap of just only learning more about that, like how to be a better coach and how to do whatever. It's like, good. Can you get people results right now? Yes. Do you have any clients? Well, no. Okay. It's because you don't know how to market. So yes, your lifetime, you're going to learn lots more about this concept. But right now, if you can get people results, but you just don't have clients, let's switch our focus a little bit. Like, let's learn some business stuff. Let's learn how to market. Let's learn how to bring in clients so that you can have a business, you can actively be serving people, and you're going to learn more through that experience than anything in a course that you do anyway. So I think your gym story is awesome. So how did you, like, where did you go after 6 gyms and how did you make that next transition?
Well, this is where I like to share a failure story because it sounds like life is good and Dustin's life is beautiful and he's banking rolling, and like, actually is where I learned a really hard leadership lesson because I got too focused on few things, and that was marketing, sales. And so what happened is I just put coaches in this room with a bunch of equipment and I'd go on and I'd take my focus away. I didn't put a manager or a leader in charge. And so you could probably see where this is going. Culture started going down. People are cutting corners. People are coming in late. We had people show up under the influence. We had people show up high. We have coaches sleeping with clients. And so all the headaches of, that we all probably have seen in our own way of employing people. And so that was me. I'm very optimistic. I'm trusting. And I had to learn to kind of lean a little bit towards my pessimistic side and have the trust but verify mindset. Like, hey, I trust you, seem like a good person, but I'm going to verify you're doing what you said you did. And so that was a hard learning lesson for me. In fact, we even had to close a gym within 1 year because I could not find a good leader to run it. And so essentially, sometimes in business, you got to know when to fold them. And, that was a hard lesson there. So again, it sounded like everything's going good and I'm just printing money, but that's where, business comes and punches you in the face and say, hey, like you got to learn this crazy thing called leadership and management and systems and an org chart. And that was all the stuff I ignored, in my early years as an entrepreneur. I just thought I can outmarket and outsell any problem that comes up. There's a problem, I could just throw money at it. You can't buy culture, right? Like this is something that has to be guarded and taught and protected and fostered and enforced. So that's kind of where things kind of changed.
Managing, I think, punches a lot of entrepreneurs in the gut because you're really good at what you do. Then you start to build a business around it. You're in your jam. You're doing great, and now it's time to keep growing. And now you have to manage people, and they are not in love with your business to the level that you are. And they, it's hard because I think so many of us as entrepreneurs are like go-getters. Like we have a goal. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna, just stay positive and focused. And then you bring in people, and they're not you. And it's not their business, and they're just there to get a paycheck in the end. And so learning how to create that culture, how to manage, slow to hire, quick to fire, all the stuff that comes along this journey. The bigger you get, the more success you get, the bigger problems you have. And I think people, when they're like, yeah, I'm making $22,000 a month, I'm doing okay. Now you're hiring a team. Like now you're taking on an employee. Now you're doing this. And that's a whole other level of your growth needed to be able to sustain that and to be able to really build it long term. So
yeah, and I think that's a whole nother skill set too. When you get to that level, when you start bringing on employees, and I know in our niche, like in the coaching niche, where you've got call centers and you're hiring a sales team and things like that. There's a lot of companies out there that are advertising, we'll train up your setters, or we'll provide call centers for you, and we'll book calls on your calendar and blah, blah, blah. And they kind of give you this impression that if you hire them, you don't have to do anything. Like they'll just find people, they'll know what to do, and things will be great. And your calendar will be full of appointments. And, we've tried more than a few of those, and time again, because we expect that, okay, so they have experience, they know what to do, they know what to say, they know what process. And so like I remember the very first setter that we hired, he had experience, he seemed like he knew what he was doing. And so we just kind of let him go. And after a couple of days, it was like, why do we not have any book calls? What is he doing? Like, like we had no idea. We just expected that he would do his thing and we could trust him to do it, and we could just do our thing and it would be self-managed. And it is not that way at all.
Yeah. You can't outsource leadership. You can't outsource giving a crap about your business. And so, one thing that I then learned was giving a piece of the pie to the people to get that engagement, that get that buy-in, because high performers want to be compensated appropriately. And so, I heard it from, I believe it was Elon Musk. He said you want to own 100% of a grape or, a quarter of a watermelon. And so, like we all hang on to equity and profit share because like it's all mine, I want all mine, but it's a smaller business where if you gave pieces of it and this pie became way bigger, you got less of it, but you're getting less of a bigger pie. And so that's how I did eventually, because I was like, how do I structure this that like these 6 gyms, they're all kind of spread out to the point where they're even like 30, 45 minutes apart. So they can't even like support each other. This person has to be bought in and they can't need Dustin on site. I'm going to go do what I do great. I'm going to pack these gyms out with leads and I'm going to swamp the system. And that's where I add value as the CEO. But like, how can I get someone in the facility? And I eventually had to go down that profit share model. And I had to say, okay, if I give them ceilings and I give them a flat hourly, like they'll just always have that check out. But they will start saying, hey, this cleaner comes weekly. I'll just pick up 2 days, a week, a month. We don't need her every week. She'll just come twice. And they just started being solution minded. Like, hey, the team's asking to replace the bands, but like, we can wait another month. And they just started acting like an owner. And the only switch I turned on was profit share. And so that made me realize, okay, this is how I'm going to get the next level of talent and the next level of buy-in from people. And also it was rewarding that they kind of were, I call them like phantom partnership. I didn't put it on paper. They were not, legally in any way a partner in the business. I just chose to give them profit share. But when I gave them that phantom ownership, they acted differently. And so like that, kind of really turned that on to my eyes and my awareness. I'm like, okay, this is how I need to do things for definitely higher tier kind of roles, managers,
Absolutely. Getting people to buy in and to see it, take that level of ownership. That's a great solution. Okay. So take us from the 6 gyms to the next phase.
So basically it's funny. I'm retracing my steps, like almost following breadcrumbs. The next thing I kind of came across